planning to travel abroad, a remote region. If you're planning to travel abroad to any remote region as a destination, then you need planning in advance on the expected conditions and how you can get the best of your trip. Have in mind the kind of hazards you may face, environmental diseases, and the types of food that is most available in that region. Also consider the type of medical care that is offered in that region. You may be traveling as a group or expedition and probably have a doctor with you in the group and may not have all the resources needed to take care of you when you're unwell. He may not also have with him a large supply of medication or equipment needed. Just consider what you're likely to need. Despite most destinations being safe, some destinations may be unsafe, and especially if you're traveling to a remote region, there may be some degree of risk you may consider during your planning. Also consider the fact that in case of injury or illness, it could take several hours or days before you get help. It would also be advisable to leave an itinerary, even if it's not precise, with family member or friends or close contacts, and keep in touch with them so that they can raise alarm when they don't hear from you. It's also recommended that you get advice from a foreign office website for conditions at your destination. If the area you're visiting has political instability or disaster, do notify your embassy in that country or consulate of the intended travel. Find out if there is local unrest or terrorist activity that unfortunately has not been broadcasted in your country, which may be of high risk to you. In some countries, there'll be a hostility towards visitors considered wealthy, or regulations and guidelines on dress codes and behavior. In this case, you may consider not traveling with your valuables like jewelry and watches. In short, understand the destination very well before you travel. Organize a small first aid kit to carry with you on a trip to a remote area because it may be difficult to get immediate help when needed. You can consult with a doctor on what is best to include in your travel kit. You may need advice on how and when to take some of the medications you will have been advised to carry with you. It is recommended that if you have a health professional traveling with you on this trip, they will help with the diagnosis. Self-diagnosis is not recommended, even if you're a medical professional. There are those people on a just in case medication, like those with lung conditions. And if traveling and you think you might need these medications because you are traveling to a remote area, do consult with your travel doctor privately. If you live in the UK, you may have to pay for these medications because the NHS does not cover your travel abroad. If you are a UK citizen, remember your GP is not insured to advise you while you are abroad. So get to know where the health services are located in the country where you are visiting. Some countries have very strict laws that govern alcohol, drugs, and sex, and may just be one of those countries you are visiting. If you get involved in this, it may generate hostility, misunderstanding, and legal difficulties. Beware that some countries sharing a hotel room with someone of the same sex or the opposite sex and is not your spouse may be considered a crime. Illicit drug use may attract extreme penalties and deportation. The most common difficulties may include injuries like falls after engaging in a lot of drinking and traffic accidents. Do remember to be cautious when driving or drinking. Do self-assessment to make sure you are psychologically prepared for your trip. Being away from friends and family can be traumatizing, more so because of strange, uncomfortable, and difficult environment with strangers. As much as you may try to keep in touch with your friends and family through phone, it may not work, especially if you are in a remote area with no connections or even signal, so even social media may not function. Think about the weather at your destination of your planned trip. Some places may have extreme heat, like if you are to visit a desert, or extremely cold areas like the North Pole. Consider the altitude and humidity too. Prepare fully and make sure you are physically prepared to face the extreme weather and able to meet challenges to the planned activities you are to partake. In case you have mental health issues like depression, schizophrenia, alcohol dependency, do visit your specialist to make sure it is under control before you travel. Otherwise, some difficult situations may trigger it. Different destinations have different types of food, which may be determined by cultural values. Take precautions on what you eat. In remote areas, you may be predisposed to risk of gastroenteritis, which is an infection of the gut. This is common in areas where there is lack of refrigeration, so it is advisable to avoid foodstuffs like meat. In dry remote areas, do carry with you some dry snacks like dried fruits and water to avoid dehydration, especially if it is an area where you will walk long distances. Even if it is an area where you have access to tap water or rivers, you still need to take with you bottled water to avoid the risk of infection. If you must, after careful consideration, you can carry tablets to purify the water. But try them and make sure you can cope with the taste and that they truly work before starting your journey. Remember, the water in that region is not purified. So even what is washed with that water, like the salads that you're going to eat and fruits, may be infected. Therefore, stay away from them. Avoid ice cubes in your drinks. Beware of dangerous animals, especially in remote areas, both on land, sea, and those that fly. If going for expedition, like mountain climbing and all, just be aware of natural disasters like volcanoes, difficult terrain, where even rocks can roll down the mountain, or even disease break out in the region. It is important to find out about these and recent related occurrences before you travel. In case you're traveling as part of a charitable organization, please find out the circumstances that led to the situation that occurred that is leading you to travel and give charity. Ensure your safety before you travel. If you are on some ongoing clinics and checks, do organize to attend them early enough to be given a fit to fly certificate. This will be done by the private travel doctor in most countries, but where there is none, your usual doctor can do the checks and advice. Take medical insurance cover and declare any medical conditions to your travel insurance. The insurer should cover you against what you plan to do while you are away. Remember, policies differ and choose carefully. Avoid traveling against medical advice because the insurer may not confirm your travel insurance when you need it abroad. Check on the country's website on what to carry or what not to carry. Countries may not allow even some of the prescribed medications, especially for pain. If you do not strictly follow these laws, then prepare for possibility of high penalty. If you have not been declared fit to travel, you may need to postpone your travel because some difficult terrains and extreme temperatures are stressful to you, making it very difficult for you to achieve your objectives. If you have to see your dentist for some reason, please do so because getting a dentist in a remote area may be impossible. And even if you get one, it will be extremely expensive, or sterility issues altogether with a risk of infection. Dental pain can be extremely distressful and impossible to contain. So have dental checks before you travel and have all cavities filled. If you have issues with your sight, do organize to see an optician and get suitable lenses or even contact lenses. But make sure the conditions at your destination will allow you to handle contact lenses hygienically. Otherwise, plan to use your glasses throughout the trip. Remember, contact lenses can become uncomfortable in high altitudes and extreme cold. Carry with you lubricating eye drops and lens sterilizer if you decide to go ahead and carry them. Protect your eyes from snow blindness, which is a painful condition caused by overexposure to ultraviolet light, by purchasing a pair of good sunglasses to protect your eyes at the front and side if traveling to mountainous regions. People rarely travel with children to remote and difficult environments. But if for some reason you are, seek medical advice before you travel to ensure they've received all the necessary immunizations. Remember, in high altitude, children's skin is susceptible to sunburn. Children also get dehydrated very easily if they get diarrhea and lose a lot of fluid, so take precaution. If a child you are traveling with gets fever, take it seriously and take them to be checked. Be cautious when in close vicinity of strange animals because children are less likely to be cautious and are therefore at risk of getting injured and getting rabies. Take precaution when children go swimming or are crossing the road to prevent injuries. Children also develop altitude sickness but may not be able to describe what they are feeling. Seek medical advice when a child becomes unwell because they may not have similar symptoms like adults and have difficulty in describing the symptoms. Consider if they would benefit more from that challenging trip when a little older to remember and participate more. Confirm if there is enough medical service at your destination to keep your child safe. Children also face risks to health and welfare. If you are a humanitarian worker and traveling to a remote area to provide relief, you definitely face greater health risk than a normal tourist. This is due to the fact that you will be going to a volatile, hazardous, and dangerous places with the population there and may even get communicable diseases and trauma. If there has been natural disaster, you may have to contend with the aftermath. If traveling with an organization, ensure it is an approved organization. Attend all their briefings before you start your journey. Your aim is to go and assist and ensure you are in your best health. Organize with your travel medical team before to have all vaccinations on time because some vaccines require a course of 2 or 3 injections over a period of several months. There are also those that must be given separately and different times to avoid reaction. Check out recommended vaccines for the country you will be traveling to. If in the UK, you may not be able to get an appointment with a GP for these vaccinations because of the workload, so you may need to visit a private travel doctor. Alternatively, contact your GP and make an appointment several months before your travel date. Your destination determines what vaccines you require, for example, yellow fever and Japanese encephalitis. Discuss the need for protection against typhoid, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, and rabies, depending on the type of environment you're traveling to. You may also need to boost your diphtheria, tetanus, and polio immunizations. The doctor may also require to check your immunity against tuberculosis, which is TB. While planning to travel, it is also important to note that, unfortunately, there are also diseases against which vaccines are not available, like Zika virus, malaria, dengue, schizophrenia, HIV, and sleeping sickness. Visit Fit for Travel website for the country-specific advice to understand how to reduce the risk to exposure to all the above diseases. You may need yellow fever certificate because the country you are traveling to has yellow fever, or they do not have yellow fever, so they recommend that all visitors must be vaccinated. While in remote locations, beware of medical conditions that may affect you. If you are visiting equatorial regions and high altitude areas, the sun is usually very strong even under the shade, so you can get skin sunburn, which is a skin damage. Sunburn can also occur when there is not enough sunscreen on your skin, especially like after swimming, so you may need to top up. Remember, children's skin are thinner than adults, so protect them. Wear a hat when the sun is too hot. In high altitude areas, severe sunburn may occur when the air is thin, even in low temperatures. Dehydration is common in high altitude because less moisture is held in the air and is drier. Carry with you lip gloss or Vaseline for the lips and eye drops if you get dry eyes. Also have bottle of water all the time and rehydrate. Remember, there will be extreme environmental conditions and low oxygen levels in high altitude. Those with heart and lung conditions may have a problem at high altitude, even if they are usually normal at sea level. Remember, cold environments are tough for young children and the elderly. Warm clothing is recommended for temperatures below 4 degrees Celsius. Wearing a hat and gloves is recommended under such conditions, and below negative 17 degrees Celsius, smittens are advised. Protect your eyes against UV light in bright snow if you're visiting a very snowy area. Rehydrate enough and avoid alcohol and coffee during the day because they cause dehydration. When you encounter temperatures below freezing point, watch out for signs of hypothermia like shivering, cold, pale and dry skin, slow, shallow breathing, tenderness, confusions, and irrational behavior. Remember, if you had fallen ill during your trip, some diseases take long to clear in your system, while some have longer incubation period, meaning it can take over several days, weeks, or even months from exposure to presentation of symptoms. If you develop symptoms with a high temperature after traveling abroad to a remote destination, do seek medical advice and give details of your destination. Malaria is one of the serious conditions that may present with headache, chills, and fever. There may also be some vomiting and this normally presents within 21 days, which is the incubation period. Sometimes the symptoms may occur while you are still abroad, so seek medical advice. In conclusion, if you fall ill abroad, even if you have your first aid kit, do not self-diagnose. If in a group of several people, there may be medical personnel with you, consult them because even self-diagnosis for medical personnel and making decisions on their own treatment is very difficult. If you meet other groups, they may have medics in their group and can be consulted for advice, or even an expedition first aider may be useful. I am Evelyn. I do hope you've learned something from this video. Remember, this channel is for education and information purposes only, and not diagnostic. In case you're unwell abroad, do seek medical advice in your nearest health facility as soon as possible. Hoping you enjoy your trip abroad. Those who are new here, welcome on board. Do like and subscribe and share. Thank you for watching.